Welcome to the second Smarter with OpenText Data Protection session. Welcome to everyone, and thanks for attending at this meeting. My name is Enrique Jordá. I'm in the Partner Manager team. Today's one-hour workshop, led by Christopher Nauch, Principal Solution Consultants, will provide a focused introduction to Data Protector for Documentum within the Smarter with OpenText framework. This approach illustrates how OpenText uses advanced technologies to deliver secure, resilient digital solutions. Data Protector for Documentum is a key example of this, offering robust data security, streamlined compliance, and reliable recovery tailored for Documentum environments. In this session, Christopher will guide us through the core technical architecture, main features, and essential integration steps of Data Protector for Documentum. You will again key insights and practical knowledge to help deploy, manage, and optimize these solutions for your clients. Aligned with the Smarter with OpenText vision, this workshop aims to equip you with the essentials to help clients make informed, data-driven choices that enhances digital security. Let's get started. Christopher, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Nauch. I am, as you can probably tell, based in the UK. I am part of the Data Protector international pre-sales team, covering a number of different areas, including UK, Netherlands, Switzerland, Belgium, etc. So, yeah, as Enrique said, today we're going to cover the Data Protector Documentum integration. The agenda is as follows. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the kind of whole OpenText backup and recovery portfolio. We'll cover some highlights there. Then we'll talk in a little bit more detail about the Documentum integration itself, what we've done to enable the integration, and we'll step through configuring the integration for backup and recovery. And then we'll finish with some highlights of the Data Protector product. I'm aware we've probably got a mixed audience today, so if anybody isn't fully aware of Data Protector, hopefully that will give you some extra information on the product itself. So let's begin. So OpenText backup and recovery, and why do we need it? Over the past few years, IT industries have faced a number of major challenges, and I'm sure we're all aware of how IT as a business has to evolve constantly. The adoption of digital technologies represents a significant amount of data creation and the movement across different storage tiers that can challenge SLAs to protect that data. We've seen a massive growth in the amount of data that's being backed up for various reasons in the last few years, mainly due to COVID, hybrid working, people working from home more. We see a massive increase in the amount of data, and it's estimated that by 2026 we'll have up to 221 zettabytes of data that needs to be, potentially backed up. Obviously, SLAs are shrinking constantly, as I've already mentioned. This is putting more pressure on IT departments. This is putting more pressure on backup admins. And also customers and IT companies are moving more and more towards the cloud. And we don't see just a single move to cloud. We see more and more hybrid cloud. We see multi-cloud strategies. So there's a lot of different challenges moving forward. On top of that, we also have a number of regulations that have been put in place. So again, over the last few years, we've seen a lot of these regulations, and it varies. So the top three, we're talking GDPR is probably the most common one that everyone, I'm sure, is aware of. And I'm sure you're more than aware of the fines that come with not being compliant with GDPR. NIS2 and DORA are also, NIS2 is cybersecurity regulation, and DORA being a financial regulation. So that's just European-wide. When we look at the Americas, they have their own set of regulations as well. So we have things like CCPA, FINRA, and HIPAA as well. And that's not the only ones. This is unique to each individual country. There's a number of different areas we need to be aware of in terms of an organization being hit by any of this and not being compliant. The cost would far outweigh any cost of any IT infrastructure improvements that need to be made. So it's something that needs to be looked at, and customers need to be aware of these regulations, which I'm sure they are, but you need to realize how much backup plays into that as well. And then we talk about backup trends. So as I mentioned before, a number of different events have taken place. So we've seen in the last few years, obviously people went from working from home, originally working in an office, then working from home, then being asked to come back into the office for a number of days. A lot of organizations are doing that. And the IT department just seems to have had to adapt to that and then grow. And it's been a difficult time for organizations to be able to manage that, especially with no increase in staff. There's also a number of SaaS solutions that are available, and we've seen a number of outages over the years as well from different SaaS providers, so that causes problems as well. And it's really just a matter of time before, something's going to happen. We see a lot more ransomware attacks. There's a lot more of it in the media now. And this really does have an impact on operations from an IT level, business critical applications, etc. And it just becomes, IT is becoming more and more sophisticated, and the staff aren't in place to deal with that. So what are some of the business challenges? So I've probably touched on some of these already. But there's a number of unique requirements. No two customers are ever the same. When we're looking at backup, we never go in and just have a cookie cutter solution for customers. There's always something new, something challenging, and every organization has their own unique needs. Lack of skills. So I have briefly mentioned this. So a number of staff, that the workload is becoming more and more. They're expected to know more and more applications, integrations, database skills, how to back these up from a backup admin perspective. They just need to back it up. There's no skills in place, there's no training in place because IT budgets are outstretched that far. So you need something that will help you to simplify that moving forward. Business continuity. So if you've got a mission critical application, for example, and you need to be upgraded, you need to make sure it's done in plenty of time. And then protection and security. So this is kind of going, this is a common thing. More and more nowadays, we need to look at the security of our systems. We need to make sure that every area of the system is secure. And backup is a very important part of that. And we need to make sure that our backup solution is secure. In terms of technical challenges, I've mentioned regulated environments. We need to be aware of what regulations are in place, what the impact of not adhering to those regulations are as well. A number of unique technologies. So we're looking at heterogeneous platforms. More and more users are looking, and customers are looking for unique integrations. A multifaceted environment as well. So we have, and we'll see that when we look at the Documentum integration, there's a number of complex dependencies on individual systems throughout the organization. And then deployment methodologies. So we need to look at multiple options for application and system deployments. How do we back that up? Are we making sure that that's backed up? When we bring a new system online, how do we ensure that that system is already backed up from the day it's implemented? So there's things like that we need to be aware of from a technical perspective. Modernization risk. So again, because we're looking at customers, an IT infrastructure that's gone from being a traditional data center approach to then a hybrid working approach to then a cloud-based approach, you're always looking, IT organizations and IT departments are always looking to modernize. So you've got the risk of missing features that your organization depends on once you're upgrading. if you wanted to modernize, there may be old systems that still need to be in place, that still need to be backed up. You've got to make sure that you can capture the entire organization in terms of backup. Again, performance and security. You don't want the system slowing down. The more data, we've seen how much data is going to grow by, the more data that we throw at these things, the more it's going to impact the backup systems. We're going to slow down our backups, and we're going to have potential vulnerabilities in place because we're not going to be able to meet the organization's SLAs. Broken integrations, again, something that if you're upgrading and integrations don't work, you need to make sure you've got something in place that if that happens, you can roll back. And then late delivery is something that's happening more and more. We're seeing this more and more, that, you know, projects are put in place and they're not being delivered on time. So we need to ensure that if projects are put in place, what can we do to ensure they're delivered in time? That could be something such as the ability to migrate servers, the ability to replicate servers, and we have stuff that can do that as well. So where does this all fit into backup? So OpenText as a whole, we're focusing on Data Protector today. So as you can see from the screen, we have Data Protector and its companion product, Data Protector for Cloud Workloads, or DP for CW. This is, as I said, this is what we're focusing on today. But on top of that, we also have availability and migrate in the form of Carbonite Migrate. That's the ability to, when we're looking at modernizing workloads, when we're looking at migrating from older platforms to new platforms, this is something that can help us with that. Connected backup. So we're looking at your hybrid users. We're looking at people, endpoint management. We want to be able to make sure that we can back up users' laptops. We would use a product we have called Connected Backup. We also have a separate server backup product, Carbonite, which we use for SMB environments, remote offices, and a number of cloud environments as well. And then we have what's called cloud-to-cloud backup, which is a product called Cloud Ally, which allows users to back up SaaS solutions based in the cloud, things like Microsoft 365, Google Workspace, and Salesforce, as well as Dropbox and Box as well. But as I said, we'll focus on Data Protector today. In the middle of there, you can see we have a product called Magellan. This is something that's been introduced to Data Protector as well in the last 12 months. It's a reporting tool that we use throughout OpenText. It's a standard reporting tool, and that integrates into all the packages that I've just spoken about, including Data Protector now. Okay. So, Documentum itself. So, for anybody who isn't aware of what Documentum is, Documentum is an enterprise content management platform. It offers a number of different features. So we have document management, which allows users to create documents. You can store, manage, you can collaborate on those documents. So users are able to work together on the documents. It provides version control, various different permissions, and different workflow capabilities as well. It also includes record management, which helps you to manage records throughout their life cycle, and ensures that any legal or regulatory requirements are in place as well. Workflow automation. So Documentum supports business process automation by defining and executing workflows. It allows users to create custom workflows for a document approval and review documents based on other people's work, and a number of other processes as well. Search and retrieval, so you're able to search through the system for various different documents. It also has a number of, we mentioned security as well, so it has a number of different security mechanisms in there as well. In terms of integration, so it integrates into different systems such as CRM, ERP, and email platforms, as well as things like PowerPoint and SAP. There's collaboration tools, as I've mentioned, so you're able to work as a team on an individual document. It tracks any changes that may be made, allows people to comment, etc. And then in terms of scalability and performance, Documentum is a large scale, it's an enterprise content management platform, as it's already called. It's also very important to OpenText. It's one of their critical enterprise solutions. And that's the reason why we looked to Data Protector to provide us with a backup solution for Documentum. There was a number of backup solutions in the past by other vendors. They're no longer supported. So if you have a Documentum implementation, really Data Protector is the only option you've got when it comes to backing up. The Documentum architecture consists of 3 major components. We have a content server, an index server, which are usually stored on a file system, and we have the metadata server as well, which is based on a database. We support 2 different types of database when we're looking at the backups, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail as we move forward. There's also a number of different configuration files that need to be backed up. And that's kind of where the problem starts when you're looking at backup. It's not a single backup. Traditionally with Data Protector, when we're backing up, we would use what's called a file system backup to back up the operating system. And then we would use an application integration to back up a database, for example. So if we want to back up an SQL database, we would use an SQL integration, but then we would use a separate file system backup to back up the operating system itself. As you can see with Documentum, there's 3 different areas we need to look at. We need to look at the content server, the metadata server, and the index server. And we need to make sure that if we're backing these up, everything is consistent and everything is backed up as one. So how do we do that? So when we're looking at Documentum itself, there's a number of different content-centric applications. So we have various applications, and these are just some of the areas we focus on. So obviously finance, engineering, public sector. We would have individual applications that feed into Documentum. That would be driven by the Documentum user interfaces. So we've got things like D2, which is one of the most commonly used document integration user interfaces. We've also got a plugin for SharePoint, as I've mentioned before, SAP, and these all feed into the back end of the Documentum platform. Now, this Documentum platform could be running on-premise, it could be running as Documentum as a service, or it could be running in the cloud on its own as well, or a user's cloud or a hybrid cloud, and we can use a mix of that as well. So when we look at the architecture from a data protector perspective, as I mentioned, we have to look at 3 different areas. So we've got the Documentum server itself, which we use the Documentum integration component on. So I mentioned an SQL agent or an Oracle agent or an application agent. So what we have is we have a Documentum application agent, and that's used to back up the Documentum integration itself. We also, on the same server, have to have the disk agent component. The disk agent component is used to back up the file system, and we'll talk through this a little bit more on the next slide. And then on top of that, depending on what you're using as your database, you can use either Oracle or SQL. We will need to put a separate integration component on for that as well. So disk agent. So this is a standard data protector agent that we install onto the server, onto the doc-based server host, and it's used to browse the file system and then back up that file system. So we can see all the data. You can, and we'll go through a couple of slides where we see the screens when we're browsing. You choose what you want to back up. It's a tick box. You choose what you need to back up. There's a number of files that need to be backed up. As I've mentioned before, you've got set configuration files that need to be backed up. And then you can choose as much or as little as you want in terms of file system backup. But that's to back up the doc-based server host. Then we have the Oracle or SQL integration agent. So this is, again, a standard data protector integration agent that we've had for quite some time. So the Oracle and the SQL database integration agents have been around for a long time now. There's nothing new, nothing untoward, nothing earth-shattering with these. They're just standard agents that we've had for quite some time. And then we've got the brand new Documentum bar agent. So this is a brand new agent created just to back up the Documentum contents itself. So we back up the doc-based server. This has a number of different content stores. These are called repositories. And each of these repositories can be backed up individually, or we can group them together and create what's called a backup specification. And I'll show you this as we move forward. One thing to be aware of, we currently only support whole backups. What this does, it puts the repository into a read-only mode while it's backed up, so it's in a dormant state, and then it's backed up. Or if you're doing a restore as well, it has to be put in the same state as well while you do the restore. So in terms of documentation, Documentum backup, sorry. If anybody has done Data Protector backup in the past, this will all look very familiar. It's very straightforward. This is the Data Protector backup context that you're looking at now. So what we're doing is we're looking to back up a new Documentum server. So we're creating a brand new backup specification. Now what you will see is, and this is what's unique, is that we've managed to group together the content server backup, which we use the disk agent, the application integration, and the metadata server using the agent. So what we're doing is we're using a disk agent backup and an application agent backup together. And that's something we've not done before. So this is what's very new. And this allows us to make sure that the backup is consistent. So as I said, we support Oracle SQL. So once you're configuring the integration, depending on which version of database or which type of database you're using, you'll see a different window here. But it's very straightforward, very easy to do. As I mentioned as well, so we have the default minimal selections. I mentioned the configuration files that need to be backed up. So that's what we're looking at here. We're browsing the file system. We're also browsing the doc bases as well at the same time. So you can see the repositories at the bottom there. You can see there's a repository, and we're able to do a full and an incremental backup of those as well. So very straightforward, very easy to do. Anybody that's configured a Data Protector backup in the past will be able to do this no problem at all. Even if you haven't, it's still very simple, very easy to do. It takes less than 5 minutes to configure a backup. So when we talk about restore and recovery, this is slightly different to, well, it's quite different to a traditional restore from Data Protector. So the first thing you'll see is it's from the web GUI. So this is another tab within Data Protector. This is our home context of the Data Protector GUI. It's where we're moving things more towards a web-based GUI. So moving forward, this more and more integrations will start to use this. As you can see on the left-hand side, you have a Restore tab, and under there is Documentum. We select that, and that will start a wizard. Once that opens up, we see a source page. You can select the client name that you want to restore to, and then you can and then you can filter out the backup data based on the date. So you look for the date you want, and then you can look for the data that you want. You can select the config, which is optional, and the repository that you want to restore the data to as well. You then select the backup version and click on next. So again, this is all very new, and this is the way that Data Protector is moving forward. There's a number of different integrations that use this already, but this is slightly different to what we used to do. Then you have a set of options. You choose the target clients where you want to restore the data to, and then the metadata database you want to use, and click next. Once you've done that, you are then presented with the devices. So when we configure a backup, we obviously need to back it up to something. So we decide what the client we want to back it up to. So whether that could be a backup to disk, a backup to a tape drive, backup to the cloud, wherever we want to back up that. We'll talk a little bit about backups as backup devices as we move through the DP slides. But you have a number of different options with Data Protector of where you back that data up. Now, just because you backed it up to one location, it may be that you've backed it up to a tape in data center A, and you want to recover it from after a disaster on a completely different site. So you've got that option here. This gives you the option to choose what devices you can use, the original device, or you can use a separate device. It's really up to you what you want to use in terms of recovering that data. And you may have multiple copies as well. It could be that you've backed it up and you've replicated the data in a copy job to a second site, and you want to use the data that's on the second site. Data Protector will be aware of both copies of that data, and it'll let you select which version of the data you want. So if we're talking disaster recovery, we could have 2 copies of that data. On the media page, you review the media. So basically that's just making sure that the media is available for you to use. And then we have a summary page where we can see everything that's been selected. We click restore, and then finally we can watch the session and see that session being restored. There's a note there saying that what we need to do before we do a restore, you must manually make table spaces offline for the repository which you're trying to restore. Once restore is complete, you then need to bring those table spaces back online. So just a note to be aware of. So, a couple of prerequisites. So currently it's supported on Documentum versions 21.4, 22.4, 23.2, and 23.4. The .4 versions being the long-term support versions of Documentum. So that's why we aim at those, because they're supported for 3 years. It's supported on Red Hat 8 or 9 and Windows 2019 and 22. Oracle databases. So we support Oracle 19, and this is on 21.4 and 22.4, as well as 23.2 and 23.4. And then we support Oracle version 21 for 23.2 and 23.4. SQL 2019 is only for 21.4 and 22.4, whereas SQL 22 or 2022 is supported on all versions. We support on-premise, and cloud installations, physical and virtual servers. We support full and incremental backup and restore on doc-based level. So this is the doc-based level. And then, as I've mentioned already, all doc-based content and file-based protection is combined into one backup-specific workflow. So, a few takeaways when we talk about Documentum. So it's a non-stop integration. That means that we're backing up everything. That means that we're securing the data. It's seamless. You know, we've mentioned at the beginning how we're reliant on a number of different features. You know, we look at other options for backing up Documentum. It could be you have to use a SQL database. Then you have to do a separate file system backup, and there's no connection between them. This is, you know, it's open to failure. If one of those backups doesn't work, if you do a dump of the SQL database or the Oracle database and then backup, you're leaving yourself open. This is a seamless integration. So we don't have to rely on other factors to make sure we've got the integration and to make sure we've secured the data. Automatic scheduling. We're able to schedule the backup to run when we want it to run. So we don't have to worry about it. It's a set and forget. You configure the backup, you schedule it, and then it just does it. If it fails, it will tell you. It will notify you. That's part of the backup. Backup verification. So every time we run a backup with Data Protector, we do a data integrity check with checksums on the backup. Long-term retention. So we're able to, again, we're looking at regulations. There could be a requirement that data has to be kept for 25 years on backup. We're able to do that. And you've got a number of different options in terms of the long-term retention. We're seeing more and more customers now moving back to tape backup because we know that tape is relatively cheap. We can put data onto tape. It can be put away in a safe, forgotten about, or it can be kept for years and years and brought back if and ever it's needed. But you're meeting the SLAs, you're meeting the regulatory requirements. Deduplication and compression. We have a number of different options when we talk about deduplication that we've got, and obviously all backups will compress depending on what we're backing up to, but Data Protector has built-in compression. And then we're able to back up to the cloud and recover from the cloud as well. And we have a number of different options when it comes to cloud as well, what we're able to do with the product. And Documentum can take advantage of all of these. Okay. So now we've covered that, what we'll do is we'll just talk about some of the highlights with Data Protector. So this is really for anybody that isn't fully aware of what Data Protector is. I'll just give you some of the highlights. It's very limited. There's a lot to the product, as you'll probably see. We have a lot more of these kind of meetings where you can get a lot more information about Data Protector. The product has been around since the 80s. It started out as a product called Omnibac. It was purchased by Hewlett-Packard in the mid-80s. They then rebranded it to Data Protector, and it's had a number of different iterations to get to where we are now. And now, thankfully, we're OpenText Data Protector. I've been working with the product for nearly 20 years now, so quite some time. I've seen a lot of changes in that time as well. So what is Data Protector? So I guess the easiest way to describe data is it's an enterprise backup solution. That's what it was when it was, when it was first introduced. It was designed for large data centers. If you imagine HP data centers, lots and lots of servers, lots and lots of storage to back up, lots and lots of data to secure. Over the years, we've had to change, obviously, because of the implementation of cloud, remote office, hybrid working. So we've had to adapt somewhat. But it allows you, and we've spoke about this with Documentum already, it allows for application consistent backup. We're able to back up a number of different applications online, so we don't have to take the applications down. What that allows you to do then is to give backup admins, for example, database admins, for example, the ability to restore to a point in time. So we don't have to just look at, well, we can get this back from 8 o'clock last night. We're actually able to restore the solution to, I want that from 8:05 last night, and we can do that. Advanced virtual environment protection. So we offer online backups of virtual machines. We offer file level restore from virtual machines. We have support for Hyper-V, VMware, a number of different virtual machines using the companion product Data Protector for cloud workloads. So we've got lots of options in terms of virtual environments as well, in terms of what we can back up, what we can restore, power on virtual machines from the backup itself. So lots of different options there. Data security and enterprise class scalability. So we'll see on the next slide how scalable DP is, but also it's a very secure product. We are one of the few, if not only product to have the common criteria certification. We have made sure over the years that DP, every single release of Data Protector includes new security features. We have two-factor authentication. We have the ability to limit what people can do within Data Protector with a product called role-based access control, so we can restrict what people can actually do within the product. So it's very secure. Communication between clients and Data Protector itself is all encrypted. So yeah, very secure product. Best-in-class platform and cloud integration. So we offer a number of different platform integrations, and we'll talk about a couple of them as we go through the slides, and also a number of different cloud app integrations as well, which we'll talk about. Integrated disaster recovery. So we have a number of different options when we talk about disaster recovery. I've always said backup isn't a disaster recovery product, it's an enabler for disaster recovery. We offer the ability to recover much quicker after a disaster. We have a thing called automated synchronized replication, where we're able to replicate 2 cell managers against each other, so that if one of them fails if there's a flood or something and a data center is lost, we're able to use the second cell manager to recover everything straight away. There's no rebuilding of cell managers, there's no rebuilding of infrastructure for the backup environment. It's all available on the second site. We have enhanced automatic disaster recovery product, which allows you to boot from a USB stick and bring back a server without having to do anything. You plug the stick in and it will rebuild a server. There's a number of different options when we talk about DR. And to manage all that, we have different analytics, automation, and orchestration tools built into the product as well. I mentioned Magellan, which is the reporting tool. So we integrate with Magellan, which allows us to run a number of different reports and to analyze the environment. We also have automation tools that allow us configure multiple amounts of backups in one single kind of job. So if we need to implement, again, when we're looking at modernization and when we're looking at implementing new infrastructure, we can integrate those backups very quickly. It's not a manual task, it can be automated. So there's a number of different options to make the backup admin's job much easier. So in terms of scalability, some quite big numbers here. So the internal database. So a single instance of Data Protector, which we call a cell. One cell manager, so that's the server that manages the entire cell. It has the internal database on there, can have up to 5,000 clients. That's 5,000 individual servers that we back up. We can run 1,000 sessions at once. So that could be 1,000 backup sessions. It could be restore sessions. So we can run 1,000 sessions at any one time. And we can back up 10,000 sessions a day. Huge amounts of data. On top of that, we can group cells together in what's called a manager of managers, where we group multiple cells together. That allows us to have up to 50 cell managers, which enables 50,000 clients, 2.5 million pieces of backup media we can manage with that, and 50,000 concurrent backup sessions, which is huge. In terms of infrastructure, we can use what's called multiplexing, where we're able to send 32 streams. So that's 32 individual backup streams to a single device at any one time. 500 concurrent physical drives. So we can stream to 500 drives at any one time, each of them with 32 streams. So very, very quick. So we were talking, again, I mentioned earlier on how we talk about things slowing down. We're able to mitigate that by sending large amounts of data to a multiple amount of physical drives. 1,000 concurrent virtual devices at any one time. So this could be backup to disk devices. And then 128 drives in a single session, which is a huge amount again. And then we support physical, virtual, and container systems as well. So as you can see, it's a true enterprise product. Now, that doesn't mean it can only run in the enterprise. We have users using it for much smaller environments as well. And it becomes a very cost-effective solution when you're looking at small environments as well. So there's a number of different options. So when we talk about architecture, so again, just something to be aware of if you're looking at a Documentum backup. This is just I've mentioned some of these already, but this is just kind of our naming convention that we use. So we have a data protector cell, which is kind of the domain, and it consists of a cell manager, which I've mentioned is a server that runs the scheduling, that keeps the data in the internal database, so it has all the information about the backup job. We only keep one database for the full environment on a server, and we back that up obviously, and we can replicate that as well, as I've mentioned. And then we have what's called clients, and clients are basically servers that we back up. So yeah, anything that has a backup is a client. I've mentioned disk agent. So we mentioned that Documentum uses a disk agent. We use a disk agent to back up and restore data from disk. We back them up to backup devices. When we send in the data to the backup device, we use what's called a media agent or a media server. So a media server is a dedicated server that we use just to send data to a backup device. A media agent is generally ran on one of the clients, so to back up its own data. And you can use a mix of those. We've mentioned this as well. Documentum's got one, SQL and Oracle have got one, an integration agent. So we have an integration agent. We have lots of different integration agents. We may have integration agents for Exchange, SharePoint, SAP HANA, lots and lots of different integration agents. As I've mentioned, Cell Manager keeps hold of the internal database, the IDB. And then we also have a reporting server if needed. We don't have to have that. Now that's Magellan. It was traditionally a reporting server, but we use Magellan now for reporting. And we can use multiple Cell Manager, can use a single instance as well. In terms of ransomware, so again, we're talking about security, we're talking about protecting that data. something we have done for a long time. There's no requirement to back up to disk first with Data Protector. You can back up straight to tape if you feel that's what you want to do. You can back up straight to cloud. All of these kind of backups that we offer are all protected against ransomware because we changed the API. So we offer an offline backup. We offer air gap backup. Immutable backup is supported. So we have our own immutable backup using our own store, which we'll talk about in a second. And we also integrate with other products such as Store Once and Data Domain and the ability to use their immutability. And we also support Worm, read once, write many. And it's something, again, we're seeing more and more customers are using things like this when it comes to ransomware. We support backup to cloud. We support backup to tape. We support backup to disk. We support the ability to replicate that data, whether that's replicating tape, replicating disk, replicating cloud. We can move from expensive cloud storage, let's say, more expensive cloud storage, and we can automatically move that data to cheaper cloud storage, so Glacier, for example, for long-term retention. And Data Protector will do that manually. It will do that automatically. We don't have to do it manually. Data Protector will keep in charge of that. You set how long you want that data to be stored for, and then when to move it. And we also, as I've mentioned as well, we secure the backup transport. So everything, all the communication between clients, cell managers, is all encrypted and is all secure, and to stop anybody being able to access that. And then using things like two-factor authentication, using things like RBAC to ensure that users only have access to what we want them to have access to, ensures that the product is much more secure. I've mentioned this already, so best-in-class application consistent recovery. So this is where, you know, there's different options. Though the reason this is up there is really just to see, when we talk about different integrations, there are different options available. So depending what you're backing up, it's not always the same. We support, I've mentioned most of these already. We support various different backup types, different applications. And these are all integrated backups. They're application state, we do transaction locks backups. The difference being crash consistent, you know, it's backed up to 8 o'clock last night. We do application consistent, so we've got a much better integration than most of the crash consistent ones. Crash consistent is fine. A lot of people use crash consistent, but you're able to recover much better using application consistent backups. Okay, so quickly onto cloud. How are we doing for time? Okay. So in terms of cloud, we have a number of different options as well. And again, we're able to use these different options when we're looking at Documentum backup as well. So we have a native integration where we use the media agent. You remember I mentioned the media agent before, or this could be a media server. And we back it up using the media agent, and we send that data direct into the cloud. So, and we have support for various different cloud offerings. So Azure, Amazon, SES, Scalability. We also support HPE Cloud Volumes as well. And we can send the data, as I said, using the media agent direct into the cloud. We also support what's called cloud gateways. So, for example, Microsoft have Store Simple Gateway, where you configure that on a server locally. You back up to the local server using a media agent again. Then the Store Simple Gateway or the AWS Gateway take care of moving that data into the cloud for you. We also have our own product called DP deduplication, or a DPD store, and we'll talk about that as well as we move forward, so I'll leave that bit for now. And then finally, we support backup appliances. So this is hardware appliances provided by HPE Store Once, for example, or Dell Data Domain. And that means that we're able to use their integration. So similar to the gateways, you use what's called Cloud Bank, you back it up locally, and then the Store Once takes care of moving that into the cloud using Cloud Bank. And then we back up using Cloud Tier on Data Domain, and that's moved directly into the cloud as well. So a number of different options of backing up to and into the cloud. So as I mentioned, DPD store. So this is our own software-based store, similar to, if anybody's aware of Store Once VSA, similar to that. It's a software-based store. You can run it on Windows or Linux, preferably Linux. for obvious reasons in terms of ransomware and things like that, and you get better performance running on Linux. We introduced it with version 11 of Data Protector. When we first introduced it, it was limited in features. So there's a number of different features we've introduced in new versions. So if you are looking at using something like this, it's worth checking with your local pre-sales person to make sure that the feature that you may want is in the version of DP that you're using. But anybody that's using Data Protector version 11 or later can use the built-in DPD store. So it offers a scalable solution. As I've said, it offers a number of different features. So some of these features, replication and ARS. So I mentioned ARS, which is automated replication synchronization. This is where we have the ability to replicate between two DPD stores, but also ensure that a second cell manager is aware of what data is being replicated. So we can simply replicate it between two sites. So we have a second copy. So we talk about 3-2-1 when we talk about backup and we talk about security. So we want 3 copies of the data. We want it in 2 different locations, and one of those locations to be off-site. Replication helps with that. ARS adds to that as well. And there's different variations of 3-2-1. There's 3-2-1-1. And again, something that Data Protector has done for a long time. And people talk about it like it's something that's very new. It's not. It's something we've done for a long time. We've been replicating data. We've been copying data off-site for many years. So it's something we can do very well. And DPD has that feature built in as well. Encryption. So we're able to encrypt the data. So again, I mentioned security. This ensures that the data is more secure. Immutability. So again, to protect the data, it's not unheard of that you get a disgruntled backup admin who likes to delete, if they're leaving the company and they want to delete a number of backups. If we're using immutability, the backups won't be deleted because we've set the immutability already. Automatic cloud tier migration. I mentioned this briefly. So this is where we back up to the backup device. And then after a set period of time, so after 2 weeks, for example, we can then automatically move the data from the more expensive cloud storage to cheaper long-term cloud storage, such as Glacier. Local and cloud storage, so we're able to back it up locally and then replicate it into the cloud. We're able to back it up direct into the cloud as well. We support different types of storage. Source and target deduplication. So we're able to deduplicate the data, and we can choose where we do that deduplication as well. So we can do it on the backup client itself and then replicate the data deduplicated, or we can back it up on the backup target, the DPD store itself as well. We offer support for NDMP backups, something we've introduced recently. We also support VMware granular recovery. This is where we're able to do file level restores, and we're able to do virtual machine power on. So we can power on a virtual machine from the backup. So if we lose a virtual machine, we can power that on, ensure that a number of users are able to access that virtual machine. And then in the background, we're able to restore the virtual machine to its original location. So that ensures that we have the server up and running straight away, and we're recovering it to its original location while we're running the machine. We also have the ability to do what's called block-based backup. So again, we talk about backups running slowly earlier on because of the size they're growing. If we do block-based backup, this is predominantly on Windows, we're able to back up at the block level, so the backups will be much quicker. We can also do full backup, we can do incremental backups at block level, and we're able to do file level recovery as well from them block-based backups as well. So ensures that data is backed up. So if we have large file systems, we use as home drives, for example, traditionally that would take a long time to back up because we have to do a tree walk of all the files. This allows us to back up at the block level, so the backup is much quicker. And then there's local and remote management tools built in as well. So a lot of features in that, and that's included within Data Protector as well. So I mentioned this, storage integration. So we integrate with a number of different storage arrays from HPE, NetApp, Dell EMC. That allows us to do snapshot backups. Now, I've always said snapshot isn't a backup. A snapshot is part of a backup. There are a number of different backup products that will do snapshots. That doesn't really help when we're talking about ransomware. What we do with our snapshots, if we take the snapshot generally, we use it to form part of the backup solution, but we would traditionally move that backup from a snapshot onto long-term storage, whether that's disk or tape or cloud, but it forms part of the backup. But by integrating with different storage layers, we're allowed to do what's called, we're able to do what's called instant recovery and also replication. So we can replicate snapshots from one storage array to another, taking the workload away from the primary server. So if you have a mission critical server, for example, we're able to move that data away from that server and then back it up without slowing down the mission critical application. I've mentioned store once and data domain. So we support federated deduplication in terms of Catalyst and DD Boost on those. I've mentioned automated replication and synchronization, where we're able to replicate between two cell managers. And obviously we support tape. You know, it's something we've done. It's our bread and butter. We've done it for a long time. We're seeing more and more customers moving back to tape. And again, we're able to use tape with Documentum as well for long-term retention. So we're nearly there now. So one final thing to add, I guess, is, you know, this is a traditional look of Data Protector, corporate data center, backing up servers locally. We're then replicating them to a second DR site. And we can do this, you know, a number of different sites, lots of different options. As I said earlier on, no two customers are ever the same. We have a very flexible solution, as I'm sure you've seen. We offer lots and lots of different options in terms of where we back it up. You then get smaller remote offices where we're able to put in, you know, we talk about DPD, but we're able to back up using a media agent in the local office, sending that data deduplicated straight to the data center. So we don't need to have backup devices in the remote offices if we don't want. However, if we want to, we can put in a local backup device. So it could be a VSA, which is a store once VSA, virtual storage appliance, or we could put in a DPD store, back it up locally, and then replicate that data deduplicated to the data center, then move that to the DR site. So again, you can see there's lots of different options, and everything is managed centrally by Data Protector itself. So no having to learn multiple products. Again, something I mentioned before, we have various different customers that will use one backup product to backup virtual, one backup product potentially to backup Documentum, one backup product to backup physical machines, one backup product for cloud. We have the ability to use one product to back up all that. And then when you look at the other companion products that go with Data Protector, we have a whole suite of products available for users. Okay, and finally, just to finish off, there's a number of different links available. So we have details on the Documentum integration. We have details on installing the integration. So there's a link there to installing the Documentum integration, how to back up that Documentum. We've stepped through that, but there's a detailed guide on how to do that, and also how to restore from Documentum as well. And I believe with that, I will say thank you very much for your time. I hope you found this session useful. And I'll hand back to Enrique to close us off, I think. That's okay.
Thank you, Chris, for this deeply presentation. Thank you for all the people who joining us today for this workshop on Data Protector for Documentum. We hope this session has provided you with valuable insights and practical steps for deploying, managing, and optimizing this solution within the Smarter with OpenText framework. As we've seen, Data Protector for Documentum offers powerful tools to secure, simplify compliance, and ensure resilience for critical content environments. With this knowledge, you're well prepared to support your clients in making smarter data-driven decisions that protect and enhance their digital operations. If you have any questions or need further assistance, please reach out to us. Let's continue working together to drive success and resilience through a smarter solution with OpenText. Thank you, and we look forward to future collaborations. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.